Alright guys, we're going to replace the standard head that comes with your Kobalt trimmer with this ugly head hybrid trimmer head. Now the one that I'm modifying is the Kobalt 24 volt, and it's the item number 3488480, model number KST 4024AB-03. Now it's the 24 volt brushless, and when I bought this, it happened to have the bonus, which is running right now. It comes standard with the unit, a 4 amp hour battery, and the charger as seen here, but you get an extra 4 amp hour battery, the exact same one that you would get with it, for $139. So you can buy this for $139 normally. Now I don't know if it's for Father's Day, they've got them to where it's still $139 and you get a $60 extra 4 amp hour battery. So that was a hell of a good deal. Now I've got plenty of experience using this Shakespeare UGLY HEAD. I originally used one when they came out, and they didn't have this extra blades. Okay, they were just strictly using the wire there. And then they came out with the unit with the blades for cutting light brush. So I went and bought that, and I've had that on my Toro weed eater for quite a while. In fact, the Toro weed eater, I did a review of it. It's hell, it's over 40 years old. It runs great. So anyways, so these are really nice, and they're a great unit. You get a lot. So let me show you what you need to do if you want to modify your Kobalt 24 volt unit weed eater. Now I do want to say that you make these modifications at your own risk, because there are some possible negatives to it, which I'll go over. Now when you get this, this is everything that comes with it, and the beauty of this is you get plenty of bolts and nuts that allow this to be adapted. Again, I was able to adapt this to my Toro, which was over 40 years old. And then you get all these other adapters should you need them. And then they do give you some extra line, and then you get these blades for cutting light brush. And then if you need it, they have the directions here on how to adapt this to your unit. Other models, you know, nothing in there for the Kobalt, but again, I'm going to show you what I did to make it work. So when I got the Kobalt, I got to thinking about the way it is. It has to wind up on a spool, and this has always been so much easier, I find, this Shakespeare head, to have your line pre-cut, and when it goes out, I just replace them, and you don't have to worry about spooling on a spool. And so this morning I got to thinking about, well, let's just give this a try. So I know this works because I've already used the old one for my Toro, and I'm putting that back on the Toro. We're going to get a brand new one here so I can show you with a clean one how this goes on. Now I did a review on my YouTube channel of this this trimmer head, so you can check that out if you want. I won't go over any more of it here. Now this is what the head taken apart on your Kobalt weed eater looks like. Okay, I've taken it apart already because again I had to do this morning. And one note is it comes with a lighter type of cutting string, and what I use, and I did a review of it, it's the Rotary brand, R-O-T-A-R-Y, and I use a well, it's a 0.095 inch, and it's 1140 feet. I get it on a roll. And what I did is I used their stuff, and I decided to try this because they said don't go over, I think it was 80 thousandths, I forget, but again this is 95 thousandths and it worked fine, no issues. And then once I used this, because it lasts so much longer, this rotary wire, that got me to thinking about using the Shakespeare head. So if we look at the way these components are, you would have, and I'm not going to put this together, but this is the part that you would push down on. And when you tap on the ground, okay, and it's got this spring in here, and so when you tap on it, that's what allows this to feed out, okay. Now the issue with that is, and you probably know what I'm talking about, these always work great when they're new. Now I'm not saying this won't down the road, but one of my biggest issues is when you hit this on the ground, what happens? 90% of the time, this wire, as it comes out, your cutting cable, it makes a big circle, an indent in the grass that you tap it on. So with the Shakespeare head, can't do that. There's nothing to tap. It's just all here. Okay, so that was one of the main reasons. Okay. So here's what this looks like. Now I didn't snap this back on, but when this comes off, and what I did is I just took a small screwdriver, very small one, started to pry up on this, and it just pulled out. Okay, it just came out. I suppose you could have got up under here. So there's that cap, there's the spring, which keeps this cap up, and then when you want to let out more line, when you tap on it, and then that spring makes this come back. So now here's your spring. Okay, that leaves you with what you see here. Now here we have a closer look at that. So you're going to need a 13mm socket to get this nut off. And all I did was just hold this like this and just kept forcing it. Now this is a right hand thread, so to take it off you go to the left. And so once it was loose, okay, you take that nut off. You take that off, and now that allows you to slip this whole part off. And then this is what it looks like. And you've got this ring that just fell out of here, but that sits down in here like that. So let me show you that again in case you get this ring, flat washer type ring, and then that sits down in there like that. Then again, this would go on, and the shaft has got two flats that you can see there, so this can't rotate. The shaft keeps this from rotating on its own, keeps it indexed. And then just below that we have this metal disc that sits on there just like that. Now I was talking about pros and cons. When we do this, you're going to see that this, when it fits on there, has two purposes. It keeps this area more or less covered and helps keep dirt from getting in there, okay? Plus, this unit has a fan deal going on it. You can take this off, these 4 screws, and this is a built-in fan blade. You can see there. So as it spins, it probably draws air, whatever it does, and keeps this cool. And it might even blow out debris, keep debris out, okay? Now, we're not going to have that when we do this change, so that's one of the negatives. That's up to you to determine whether that's acceptable. I tried this morning, and it's worked out great, and I'll blow it off when I'm done, so I'm willing to take a chance on that. All right, let's open this up. This is the secret to allowing this to work, is that they give you so many options here because they want you to be able to adapt this to so many things. So you're getting all of this right here, all those hardware pieces. Plus, again, this is also a working piece if you should need it, along with the other ones that I showed earlier. Now, here's what you're going to need to do. You go through that package of hardware, of those nuts and bolts, and you're going to find 3 different items. One, you're going to find the nut that has the same threads. Again, these are right-hand threads, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, that's the nut. You're not going to use the original one that came with your unit. You won't need that. You're going to use, so you find the one that fits the shaft properly. Then you're going to find 2 more nuts that when you put it over it, it has just the slightest amount of play that you see there. Okay, those you're going to need for shims. Okay, so you're going to need those. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you put these flats even, the original nut is on the top. You'll see that the one you need is actually bigger. It's got a bigger hex size. Okay, because what happens is the unit you see here has that hex. This nut has to fit in there. Let me see if I can drop it in there properly without it. Just like that. It's got to fit in there like that. And then that hex fits that nut. So that allows you to tighten this without any, without any tools. So that's why you need that. Now something else. When you put this unit on, the diameter is bigger than the shaft diameter. And as you can see, it's got some slop in it. Not a big deal. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use those nuts as shims. Or like as a collar to center it better. Now you will be using this metal piece, okay? So that does not come off. There's your bearing. So that stays on. Next we want to take those two that almost just slide over there. They have this just a little bit of play, those nuts. You want to drop those two in first. That's the problem here, trying to get them in there without being rotated around. There's one. There's another. So you want to put those two in first. Next we're going to drop in that nut that has the same threads on the very top. And what you're going to do is put this on, and then you'll just hold that nut to kind of get it squared to the shaft. Now let me see here. Trying to do it without the go. There it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, so that's good. Now we got another step we want to do before we do anything else. Now with this slightly loose, remember, without those two nuts I put in first that kind of take up the play, this would have a lot of motion. But since I put those two nuts in there, you'll see that it has a slight amount of motion. Back and forth, slop. So now I could use an indicator. I've got some very accurate inter-rapid indicators I could put on here and then rotate it and make sure there's the least amount of run out or get it to zero. But since most of you guys probably don't have that, let me show you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is, now you'll see that I've got it shifted all the way up. Now if we rotate it up, let's imagine this. Here you see a bigger gap. Now if I push it up, there's less of a gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it snug. Okay, I'm going to just get this thing snug, and then I'll rotate it around and observe the gap. And then I can just move it around a little bit with it snug. Then when I'm done, I'll hold this like you see there, my thumb and forefinger, and then just turn it tight. And once you use this, okay, that is going to it'll snug up right on its own. So that's what I did. And when I used my other one this morning, I turned it on and there was no vibration. So, and that doesn't look too bad right there. Now to help seat that, I put these blades on, made for cutting light brush, and I just turned it on, and I wanted to turn it on, and then I also wanted to see if there was any vibration, of which there wasn't, and I'll show you. Okay guys, so far everything's very good, no issues. So I've already put 2 on, and I find that if you cut them 10 inches long, it works out really good. Could be a hair shorter, but I've got these at 10. So to put these on, to load them into here, put one side into the opening here, and then let it arc naturally. Put the other side in, push it through, and then just bring the 2 together so they're even, and pull through just like that. Alright, let's see how this runs with those. No vibration. Very smooth. Alright, next guys, I'm going to use this fancy clamp from Really Right Stuff, mount it on the shaft of the weed eater, and show you this thing in action. This does a really great job, guys. Very happy with it, and I like using that much heavier line. So, and there's absolutely no vibration. Alright, so I did quite a bit of weed eating along the line with the neighbors. They keep their property line just a mess. And one of the issues I was thinking of is getting dirt down inside the motor. Now, I don't see anything. I even had some long grass get wound up in here. You know, that can happen. I just pulled it out. But what I'm going to do is every time I'm done, just blow this area out. So that's one of the concerns that I had with what might get inside these openings that they have where the motor is. The other thing that may happen, I don't know, is the extra weight of this and the extra momentum of these the 3 here like this. Will it shorten the life of the motor? I don't know. That's just something that we'll find out in due time. And the other thing is, will this extra weight momentum of this cause the battery life to be shortened as far as between recharge times? Will you get a shorter time of run time? Now, what I like about this line, and again with this 3-head type deal, is you can see what little was used up of that line. And like I said, I did a lot, hitting some of that heavier stuff along the line, and it just held up. You can see where very little, you're just shy of where that blade cutoff is, and it just held up beautifully. This thing worked good, didn't have any issues with vibration, so I'm pretty happy with it. So again, if you guys decide to do this, just understand, you know, some of the things I mentioned, and if you think it's okay, then go ahead and make that modification.